Don't laugh, this is as Christmassy as I get. Do you remember a few weeks ago when David Spamface Cameron gave his long-awaited speech on the EU and immigration? In it, he stated that in order to get the changes that he wanted, not what you and I want, but what he wants, he would need an EU treaty change. Remind yourself of this clip. Have a look.
Coming to the UK, and secondly, does this require treaty change in your mind?
The answer to the second question is yes. These changes taken together, they will require some treaty changes. There's a debate in Europe about exactly which bits of legislation, which bits of the treaty you'll need to change, but there's no doubt this package as a whole will require some treaty change, and I'm confident we can negotiate that.
Now, today, we've had the Telegraph report this article. France to block David Cameron's treaty change plan. David Cameron's bid to renegotiate Britain's relationship with the European Union will be dealt a blow on Thursday when the French president tells the Prime Minister he is obsessed with his own problems. Francois Hollande will block Mr Cameron's request for a change to the EU treaty to include a new settlement for Britain in Europe, the Telegraph has learnt. Mr Hollande will tell the Prime Minister that he is opposed to amending the EU's treaty on the grounds that change is not needed and might trigger a referendum in France. Like Cameron, Hollande is shit scared of offering a referendum in France because he knows he'll lose. As I've said time and time and time and time and time and time and time again, Cameron can do nothing about our relationship with the EU unless he states, first of all, that the UK intend to leave the European Union, and only then can he renegotiate our terms. He's got it arse about cock. And this renegotiation would involve getting 27 other countries to agree to a new treaty. And as you can see by this article, that simply isn't going to happen. Cameron is living in cloud fucking cuckoo land, but he takes you for an idiot because you believe politicians, don't you? He's got swept hair, he's got a nice tie on, he's got a suit on, he must be trusted. Really? Honestly? The Lisbon Treaty is in fact a self-amending treaty. So they could amend the treaty to allow what Britain wants, but they're not going to, because Britain want to take stolen powers from the EU back within its borders to be able to govern itself some more. But that's not going to happen. This self-amending treaty, like everything in the European Union, is one way. They will use it to alter it slightly to gain more powers from the member states into the unelected bureaucrats. It will not be tweaked the other way. But what will Cameron's response be to Hollande trashing his great EU plans? Nothing. He will say nothing about Hollande destroying what he promised in his long-awaited EU speech a few weeks ago. He will just carry on saying that he believes he can get a good deal for Britain.
The question is yes. These changes taken together, they will require some treaty changes.
Cameron is such a lying fucking wanker. And of course no journalist will say anything about what Hollande has said and the impact it has on Cameron's grand European Union plans because, as I've said time and time and time and time and time and time and time again, journalists are spineless muppets. It's all a complete and utter farce. We just need to get out of the EU as soon as possible.